Hey, little sis right there. Can you find Christmas in the Bible? Huh? You don't know? Do you celebrate Christmas? Why? For Jesus? But is it anywhere in the Bible? Right? I'm just asking, like, is it anywhere in the Bible? It is? You say, yeah, show me where. Look, we got tons of, I want to give me one scripture where Christmas is in the Bible. You say no? But where though? I can't hear you. I can't hear you from, is that your daughter right there? Is that your mom? Is that your mom right there? What did your mom say? She said something. She said, yeah, but where in the Bible is it? This is a challenge. I challenge anybody. I'll give you $500 if you show me one verse in the Bible about Christmas. $500. Now, I can show you a verse in the Bible where God says, don't celebrate Christmas.
Right.
You want me to show you? Give me Jeremiah 10. I hope your mother's listening, because this is in the Bible. This is in Jeremiah. This is before Jesus was even born.
Right.
God said, because Christmas is a pagan. Sister right there, she does major drugs. She be over there tripping. So don't listen. Listen to the Bible. Now in Jeremiah, God is talking about not celebrating Christmas. This is before Jesus was born, about 1,000 years before Jesus in Babylon. Read.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 1.
Are you listening? Are you listening? Listen close.
Hear ye the word which the Lord spaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Read.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
Hey, turn that speaker toward them. God says, and then turn up just a hair. God says, learn not the ways of the heathen or the pagans. Jump down to verse 3.
Verse 3, for the customs of the people are vain.
God says their customs are vain, empty, worth nothing, sin. Read.
Right. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest.
Hey, sister, you hear that? One of the customs is they cut a tree out of the forest. God says, don't learn this custom. Read.
The work of the hands of the workmen with the axe.
Now let's see what they do with this tree. Read.
They deck it.
What do they do?
They deck it.
God says they decorate this tree with what?
They deck it with silver and with gold.
Hey, guess what? God is describing Christmas.
Right.
God says do not keep this custom. It has nothing to do with Christ. It's in the book of Jeremiah 1,000 years before Christ was even born.
Right.
They were celebrating this pagan custom. And December 25th is the birthday of Nimrod.
Right.
Tammuz, or what you read in the Bible, Baal. B-A-A-L. The pagan god.
Right.
All right? Hey, sis, come on up, sis. Come on up. We're not going to bite you. We love talking about the Bible. All praises. Come on up. We love talking about the Bible and teaching people that don't know. All right? So do you have that scripture for me? You do? Okay. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. So did I. Bring the camera back this way. No, it's okay. We won't put you on the camera. Hey, put the camera, set over here. You won't be on camera. We won't be on camera. Let's go ahead and keep the camera toward me. So come on up. What scripture do you got for me? Luke 2 and 7. Luke 2, okay, it's going to tell me that we should keep this book about, you know what I want. Now, Luke 2 verse 7 is going to tell me about Christmas. Right, but there's a lot of births in the Bible, but Christmas. Where does it say? Because Christmas is the annual celebration of Christ. Right? That's what Christmas is. I'm not asking for where does it say Jesus was born at. I believe Jesus. But and what now? And Matthew? Yeah, right. Listen, but I believe that the Bible speaks about Jesus being born. I got no issue with that. But where does it say we're supposed to celebrate that? That's what Christmas is. Christmas isn't the birth of Christ. It's the celebration of the birth of Christ.
Good.
Right, but Christmas is not the birth of Christ. Because I would say, show me where he was born December 25th. Yes. Right, but okay, but where did anybody celebrate his birth annually? Right, watch this. Give me Luke. Go to Luke 1:14. What's your name? Stephanie? I'm Mattathias. Nice to meet you. And your daughter's name? Sherry? Sarah? Okay, very good. That's a biblical name too. All praises. Abraham's wife, Sarah? Okay. All right. Luke 1:14. Yep, listen to this.
The book of Luke, chapter 1 and verse 14. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth.
So who is this talking about? Thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth. Who is that talking about? You say Jesus, right? It's actually talking about John the Baptist, not Jesus. Now, nowhere does it say that people will rejoice at Jesus' birth. It says that they will rejoice at John's birth. Ah, that's a great question. Great question. Great question. First of all, the Sabbath day, God says the Sabbath day is when? Saturday or Sunday? The seventh day of the week. No. It matters what God says. God says, let God be true and every man a.
Why do we go to church to celebrate Christmas?
That is a custom of men. That's not a custom of the Bible. That is a custom of men. Give me Colossians 2:8. Hope, just listen real close. Colossians 2:8. Paul warned us not to follow the philosophies and customs of men.
Right.
He said, beware. When you go to a house that says on their fence it says, beware of dog. You're not just like, la la la, let me hop the fence real quick. Go over here. Here, puppy. No, you're scared. When that door is creaked open, you're like, oh, I think that fence is open. It says beware of dog. I'm getting the heck up out of here. Paul says this. Watch this.
The book of Colossians, chapter 2 and verse 8.
Read.
Beware.
What?
Beware.
Caution. Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to what you're being taught. Pay attention to what people are telling you. Read.
Beware, lest any man.
Any who?
Any man.
Because it doesn't come from God. Lest any man do what?
Spoil you.
Ruin you. Spoil, like you get spoiled milk. It's nasty. Spoil you from on the inside. Read.
Spoil you through philosophy.
Through philosophy. December 25th is Jesus' birthday. Where? Where's that in the Bible? According to history, December 25th is the birth of pagan gods.
Right.
Not Jesus. Jesus was born where the shepherds were out in the field tending to their flock. That's the springtime. Right at night. Not during the dead of winter where it's freezing cold. Shepherds wouldn't be out there. I'm showing you why. It's a philosophy of man. It comes from paganism. Watch, read. Because they don't follow the Bible.
Right.
Because guess what? We're celebrating what I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to show you one more thing. Read that. Read.
Beware, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
Vain deceit, empty. Like no proof. You got no proof Jesus was born December 25th.
Right.
None. Nobody can prove that. We got proof that Jesus was born in the spring. We can prove it in the Bible. Read.
After the tradition of men.
See that, sis? See that, sis Stephanie? It says after the tradition of men and not after who?
After the rudiments of the world and not after Christ.
Because Christ never celebrated his birthday.
That's right.
The apostles followed Christ. They didn't celebrate his birthday. You'll never find that custom in here.
Right.
They never celebrated his birth.
Right.
Never. This is the King James Bible. Regular King James. They never once celebrated his birth. John 10:22. Let me show you what Jesus celebrated in the winter.
Bring it out.
Watch this. Read.
The book of John, chapter 10 and verse 22.
Bring it out.
And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication.
In Jerusalem, the feast of dedication. A feast is a celebration. right? It was God's high holy days. God set days for us to celebrate. In here, the custom that God gave us. We, as men, as people, celebrate customs that men give us. God said it was the feast of dedication. Read.
The feast of dedication.
Uh-huh.
And it was winter.
It was when?
It was winter.
What season are we in? Winter. What are we supposed to be keeping? Hey, brothers, what are y'all keeping right now?
The feast of dedication.
We're keeping the feast of dedication. See, Jesus celebrated that. Remember, it says, beware lest any man spoil you after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. We're following after Christ by keeping the feast of dedication like he did.
That's right.
Christ kept Passover. We follow what he does, and we keep Passover like he did.
Right.
He kept the Feast of Tabernacles. He kept the Sabbath day on the seventh day like God said. We follow after what Christ did, not after the rudiments of men.
That's Neil right there.
Huh?
That's Neil right there. He wants to learn more about it.
Okay, Neil, nice to meet you, brother. Wrong hand, but that's okay. Wrong hand. That's okay. All right, there you go. There you go. So see, you see that, sis? So God says, now let's go to Luke 2:7. So we're showing that God actually has customs for us to follow, and it's not what people follow today. We just read in Jeremiah, 1,000 years before Christ, not to keep what? Christmas. Don't cut down a tree, don't decorate it, don't bring it in your house. That's what God said. 2,000 years later, what are we doing? And saying it's for Jesus.
Right.
Does that make any sense? Sister Sarah, does that make sense? Does that make sense? If your mom, hey, Sister Stephanie, that's your daughter, right? You got a father? Okay. Your father tells you, your mother tells you, hey, I want you to clean up this room, clean up the house, do it this way, put this up here the way I'm telling you to do it, right? You leave, you go to work, you run your errands, your father leaves, he runs his errands, right, goes to work, come home, and they didn't do nothing that you told him to do. And they say, but Mom, I did it the way I thought it should be done. Is that satisfactory to you? Even though you gave them explicit instructions. God calls that rebellion.
Right, right.
Because if I tell my child, hey, I want the logs cut and set up this way on the side of the house so I can put it to my fireplace. I want it long ways. And I tell my son, do you understand? He says, yes, Dad, I understand. And I leave for a few days. I'm at work, driving my truck, out of town, come back home, and I come back. Son, you didn't do anything I told you to do. Well, Dad, I didn't tell you to think, son. I told you to do. What did God tell us to do? Keep his what? Commandments. Is idolatry keeping the commandments or breaking them? Now, when you're celebrating Christmas, you are in the midst of idolatry because you are celebrating and worshiping another God. We're going to show you right now. You got the book? Bring it on over. Bring it on over. We're about to show you right now. Read this. You missed the spot? Right there. There you go. Read that. Listen to this. Listen, this is historical facts. Ma'am, listen. I understand. Now, the Bible speaks about the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Sister, I know that that's not the Bible. Sarah, do you go to school? Do you go to school? Do you guys read history books at school? You don't read history books at school? You have no history class? Okay, that's it. You have a book that you have to, you don't have no information comes out about history. Huh? But it's a book, right? It's not an actual physical book, but they now have books online, right? But it's still a book, correct? We know you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. You know what I'm talking about, Sarah? Okay. Now, that's not the Bible, right? But does it teach you history of facts, things that happen? Yes. So the Bible is a history book concerning the Israelites and how the other nations dealt with them. Right. Now, we're not saying that this book, Sister Stephanie, is the Bible. What we're showing is that this book records actual historical events as to why people do the things they do today.
Right.
Things that are lost in historical translation that they don't teach anymore. Right. So now we're about to show you the origin of where Christmas even came from. What we read in Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah was in what captivity was Jeremiah in? You know? I'm gonna help you out. Babylon. The Babylonian captivity. Who was king of Babylon? Nimrod was king of Babylon. Do you remember the king of Babylon, sis? In Genesis 10, about the Tower of Babel. Nimrod was the king over Babylon. The Tower of Babel, boom. The languages get split, right? That is historical fact. This book records that. This book goes into what transpired after. Then you had Nebuchadnezzar was king of Babylon. So now let's go and let's read what transpired during Babylon. Read.
In the Babylonian and Assyrian legends, Nimrod.
Who?
Nimrod.
So it says in the Babylonian and Assyrian legend. Hey, Levi, get on this side and give me Genesis 10 about Nimrod. In the Babylonian legend, okay, there is a man named Nimrod. Let's see if that man's name is in the Bible. Read.
Genesis chapter 10 and verse 8. And Cush begat Nimrod.
You see that? Cush, a Hamite. Are you following along in your Bible, man? Oh, you should. You should. So, you don't have a Bible app? Okay. Well, I got an extra Bible. You want to follow along? Okay. Well, you should write them down at least to be able to go and find out if what we're saying is true. I understand. We're almost done. Watch this. So Nimrod is in the Bible, right? So listen to this.
In the Babylonian and Assyrian legend, Nimrod died in his prime, leaving a queen named Semiramis.
Now you read about his queen named Semiramis in Jeremiah and Ezekiel. Her name is the queen. They call her the Queen of Heaven in Jeremiah and Ezekiel. These two are pagan gods that they were worshiping in the Bible.
Right.
Read on.
At his death, Nimrod, according to legend, became immortal, and his spirit flew up to the sun and took possession of it.
They call Nimrod the sun god. The sun god. That's why people go to church on Sunday.
Bring it out.
Because it's in worship or in veneration of the sun god.
Right.
That's what the Catholic Church, they are the ones that started going to church on Sunday. Because in 332 AD, Constantine was having, you know who Constantine is, right? So we know a lot of history. Constantine was having a war between the Christians and the pagans. So in order to keep them aligned, to keep them from fighting each other, they said, okay, you Christians can keep your Sabbath, but we're going to change it to Sunday so the pagans can still worship the sun god.
Right.
So that's why y'all go to church on Sunday.
Right.
Instead of the Sabbath day like God said to do. So read on.
Hence, he became Baal-Saman.
And the Catholics call the Virgin Mary, they call her the Queen of Heaven.
Right.
Which is what they worshipped in the Old Testament as a pagan god.
Right.
It all goes back to the history. If you don't know history, you'll be fooled. If all you know straight up, you won't. You'll be able to be tricked about anything.
Right.
That's why people are out here shopping, cutting trees, putting it in their house. Because they don't know nothing else. Read on.
Hence, he became Baal-Saman, Lord of Heaven.
Read.
After Nimrod had died.
After Nimrod died, listen, after Nimrod died, read.
After Nimrod had died and became the sun god. Semiramis, his queen, became pregnant. She claimed to be a virgin.
She claimed to be a virgin. Where do we read about the virgin birth of Christ? Now, we're not saying that Mary wasn't a virgin. We know Mary was a virgin. We believe that. But there's two different terms for virgin. Virgin also means in the Bible a young woman of marriageable age. Like you have a woman that's called a maiden. Maiden and virgin are the two very similar things. Virgin today we use for a woman that has never had sex.
Right.
But Mary and Joseph biblically did. Listen close.
Semiramis, his queen, became pregnant. She claimed to be a virgin.
Read.
And after Nimrod's death, according to legends, begot a child by Nimrod's spirit coming down on her from the sun. She proclaimed to her subjects that her husband's spirit entered into her womb.
Read on. Watch this part. Read.
Through a sunbeam, and begot the legendary godchild Tammuz.
What's his name?
Tammuz.
It's a god child named Tammuz. That's why when you see a lot of the pictures of Mary, quote unquote Mary, and the baby Jesus, it's not really about them.
Right.
It's Semiramis and the god child Tammuz, because he died as a baby. Now watch this, Ezekiel 18:8-14.
Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 14. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping.
Women were weeping for who?
For Tammuz.
That name is in the Bible.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to show you. We know this ain't the Bible, but this got history in it that you're unaware of. Read.
And
The legendary godchild Tammuz, right? Let's see. We'll read on. Watch this part. He was
born.
Hey, are you listening when he was born? Read.
He was born December 25th.
That's who you're celebrating on December 25th.
That's
Not Jesus. And this is Nimrod. This is the Babylonian king. Jeremiah told you in the Babylonian captivity, don't keep this custom. Why?
Right.
Because they were keeping it back then. They were keeping this a celebration for Jesus before Jesus was even born.
right.
So it's not a celebration of Christ. It's a celebration of the pagan god Tammuz.
Right.
That's who you're worshiping on that day. And that's what we're trying to show you. A lot of our people don't know that. You will not learn this. The church will never teach you this.
Right.
They won't. Because the church does not keep what God said to do.
Right.
Jesus kept the Feast of Dedication. What church do you know keep the Feast of Dedication? I'll wait. Now one. What church keeps the Sabbath day on the seventh day, like today, where they're not buying, not selling, not cooking, not working on the Sabbath day like God said to do? I'll wait. Not even a Seventh-day Adventist church does that. They don't do that.
Right.
What church keeps the day of Pentecost? You have the Pentecostal church. Do they keep Pentecost? No. Because in order to keep Pentecost, Pentecost means 50. 50 days after Passover. In order to celebrate Pentecost, that means you had to have been celebrating Passover. Because you had to count 50 days after Passover to celebrate Pentecost.
Right.
What church is doing that? I'll wait. Not one. You see
Right.
the problem, sis? You see the problem? I know, but okay, so I'm gonna get you this and then we'll be done. Acts 5 verse 30. I understand. I understand, sister. You can walk away. I'm not trying to hold you. You can walk away and hear this, okay? You can walk away and listen. So that may be what we're taught, but God said, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. Don't follow what man says, follow what God says. Read.
Acts 5 verse 30. Then
29.
Verse 29. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men.
And that's the problem. People want to follow man instead of what God says.
That's right.
And that's why in Revelation it says that the blood of man around the world will be up to a horse's bridle. Many of y'all are going to be put to death for your idolatry,
Right.
for following after man instead of following Christ. And with that, give me back.
What is the nation? Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models.